That extra $20 you just paid to fill your tank, that isn't just about oil. It's a warning shot. With Brent crude oil screaming past $126 a barrel, the pain you're feeling at the pump is just the beginning. The real story, the one that could rattle your entire financial world, is happening right here in a 21-mile wide stretch of water that is becoming one of the most dangerous places on earth for your wallet. For nearly a month now, since the conflict between Iran and a U.S.-Israeli coalition erupted in late February 2026, the Strait of Hormuz has been on a knife's edge. This waterway is the planet's single most important oil choke point, and following strikes on its territory, Iran has retaliated. It has attacked roughly 10 commercial vessels, creating a high-risk environment and sowing chaos. And this isn't just about the price of gas. This is about the very foundation of the US dollar. And that foundation is starting to show cracks. To really get what's happening, you have to understand what this narrow waterway truly represents. The Strait of Hormuz isn't just water. It's the global economy's main artery. About 20% of the world's daily oil consumption flows through it. That's around 20 million barrels of oil every single day. On top of that, it handles almost a fifth of the global trade in liquefied natural gas, or LNG. When this artery gets clogged, the global economy starts to feel chest pains. Since the conflict began, shipping has been thrown into chaos. It's not a total blockade. Iran's own foreign minister has stated there's no plan to close the strait, and some tankers are still getting through. But actions speak louder than words. With ships being attacked, many shipping companies are refusing to risk it. Maritime traffic has reportedly dropped by as much as 90%. The immediate result is exactly what you'd expect, a massive price shock. Brent crude, the international benchmark, which was trading around $66 a barrel before the crisis, has soared to $126. In the United States, gas prices have surged, with states like California seeing prices climb past $6 a gallon. This is wave one. It's the pain you feel at the pump. It's the higher grocery bills as shipping costs get passed on to you. It's businesses watching their energy costs explode. But this crisis goes way beyond just oil. The region is a vital source for industrial materials like petrochemicals and fertilizers. Shortages are already creating production delays and driving up costs for everything from farming to construction. Let's map this out for a typical American family over 90 days if this holds. The first week, it's the gas station. That extra $30 to fill the tank twice feels sharp but manageable. By the third week, the effect compounds. Your grocery bill jumps $50 a week as fuel surcharges hit the food supply chain. A month in, your natural gas heating bill arrives, 25% higher than last month. All these new unavoidable costs can't be covered by income alone, so they land on a credit card. By the end of month 3, you're not just paying more for gas and food, you're now paying interest on last month's gas and food, digging the hole deeper every single day. That's how a global choke point becomes a crisis in your kitchen. It goes even deeper. Governments are trying to fight back. Members of the International Energy Agency have agreed to release oil from their strategic reserves to cushion the blow. But even a coordinated release is just a temporary patch on a gaping wound if the world's main oil artery remains severely restricted. In all of this, the high gas prices, the supply chain chaos, it's just the surface tremor. The much larger economic tsunami is what could come next. So what does this all mean for you, beyond the gas station? To answer that, we need to talk about something called the Petrodollar system. It sounds complicated, but the idea is pretty simple, and it has quietly shaped your financial life for the last 50 years. Back in the early 1970s, after the US dropped the gold standard, it struck a deal with Saudi Arabia and other major oil producers. The core of the agreement was that oil would be bought and sold around the world using only US dollars. It effectively turned the US dollar into the planet's mandatory toll booth for buying energy. This was a brilliant move for the United States. Since every country on Earth needs oil, every country needs US dollars to buy it. This creates a constant, massive global demand for our currency. It lets the US run huge deficits because other countries take the dollars they get from selling us stuff and use them to buy US Treasury bonds. That, in turn, helps keep our interest rates low. It's the hidden pillar holding up the dollar as the world's go-to currency, giving Americans a standard of living and economic stability that would otherwise be impossible. But here's what nobody is telling you. The crisis in the Strait of Hormuz isn't just choking off oil, it's raising uncomfortable questions about the very system that props up the US dollar. Think about it. A huge chunk of the oil and gas flowing through that strait is destined for the industrial powerhouses of Asia. What happens when major economies that depend on those shipments can't get them reliably anymore? What happens if the only way to secure a shipment is to deal directly with Iran, maybe even using a currency other than the dollar? A long-term disruption raises a question that used to be unthinkable. If you can't reliably buy the world's most important commodity with dollars, then why should the dollar be the world's default currency? And this isn't a theoretical question anymore. This is already happening, quietly, in the background. For years, major global powers have been building workarounds to the dollar system. The BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and their partners, are actively developing a payment system to bypass the US-controlled SWIFT network for international trade. We're already seeing major non-dollar energy deals, like India buying Russian oil with rupees and the UAE selling LNG to China in yuan. Critically, Saudi Arabia itself has been in active talks with Beijing to price some of its massive oil sales in the Chinese yuan, a direct challenge to the 1974 deal that started it all. These were once slow-moving trends, but a crisis like the one in Hormuz acts as a powerful accelerant. It gives countries a very real, very urgent reason to use these parallel financial tracks they've been building. And that's the part most people miss. This is the second wave. It's not just an oil crisis, it's a potential currency crisis. If global confidence in the petrodollar system starts to wobble, the consequences could be enormous. Over the next few months, watch for signals that foreign countries are becoming less willing to buy US debt. That could force the Fed's hand and send interest rates on everything from mortgages to credit cards soaring. A falling dollar would slash your purchasing power and the value of your savings. This is the bigger, quieter threat that isn't making headlines. We've seen a version of this movie before. The 1970s oil shocks also started with a Middle East conflict and an embargo. The price of oil quadrupled, but the damage was much deeper. That crisis kicked off a decade of stagflation, a miserable mix of a stagnant economy and runaway inflation. The US Federal Reserve was trapped. If it raised interest rates to fight inflation, it risked killing the economy. If it cut rates to help the economy, inflation would get even worse. To put it in simple terms, it's like trying to fix a room that's dangerously hot using a broken thermostat that only has two settings: Arctic blast or incinerate. The Fed can choose Arctic blast by jacking up interest rates. This makes borrowing money incredibly expensive. Mortgage rates would shoot up, crushing the housing market. Businesses would stop expanding and start laying people off. Your 401k would plummet. The good news? Inflation would be dead. The bad news? You'd be in a severe recession and millions of people would be out of a job. Or the Fed could choose incinerate. It could cut interest rates to try and protect jobs and prevent a recession. But that pumps more money into an economy that's already short on a critical good: oil. It's pure fuel on the fire. Your paycheck might be safe, but it would buy less and less each month. Your savings would evaporate. People on fixed incomes, like retirees, would be financially ruined. There is no clean exit from this. Today, the Fed faces a similar nightmare, but with a key difference. Back in 1973, the disruption was a political choice. Producers turned off the taps, and they could be turned back on with a deal. Today's crisis is a physical one, rooted in military conflict. Even with a ceasefire, it would take time to secure the strait and rebuild the trust needed for normal shipping to resume. Of course, our economies are better defended now. Central banks are more experienced in fighting inflation. We have strategic oil reserves, and our economies aren't as thirsty for oil as they were in the 70s. But the fundamental problem for the Federal Reserve is the same. You can't print oil. This is a supply shock, a physical shortage of something the world desperately needs. The Fed's tools are designed to manage demand, not create supply. The Fed can't drill an oil well or escort a tanker through a war zone. That's not a coincidence. The sheer scale of the potential disruption is what makes this so dangerous. It threatens to unleash the same kind of inflation we saw in the 1970s, but at a time when global debt is at an all-time high and the world is a much more complicated place. If you're finding this breakdown helpful for seeing the bigger picture, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button. We focus on connecting the dots between global events and your money, and every subscription helps us keep doing it. So let's bring it all back home. The news is focused on the price at the pump, and that pain is absolutely real. That's the first wave, an energy shock that's already squeezing families and businesses. But the second, more powerful wave is the one building silently beneath the surface. This crisis in a 21-mile wide strait is exposing the fragility of the petrodollar system, the very bedrock of the US dollar's power for half a century. A prolonged standoff doesn't just threaten an oil shortage, it threatens a confidence shortage in the US dollar itself. It challenges the entire arrangement that has allowed America to sustain its standard of living for decades. This isn't some far-off theory anymore. This is a slow-motion crisis playing out in real time. The Strait of Hormuz isn't just a shipping lane. It's a fault line running directly under the global financial system, and the ground is already shaking. This situation is changing by the day. To see how these events could shift the global balance of power, check out our next video on which countries are positioned to benefit from a potential decline in the dollar's dominance. Click the video on your screen now. Thanks for watching.